Hello, hello, Julie Barkus here, and I'm excited to present you with this little live training today, all about letting go. And I've often been asked through the 20 years that I've been transforming teams and creating workplace happiness is what's the biggest secret? What would you tell me if I were to say, what's one thing I can do to really start attracting and retaining the team of my dreams? Or what's the one thing I could do to feel happier in the workplace? And my response to that is we have to identify what we need to let go of. And as simple as that may sound, there's a lot of different things that we're hanging on to that keep us stuck or that prevent us from being as successful as we can be. And I see the things that we need to let go of as the things that are the biggest barriers to preventing us, that prevent us from getting to where we want to grow. So if you're interested in growing your life, in growing your team, in growing your business, this is an important training for you to tune into. And I'm not going to take up too much of your time today. I'll give you some information on where you could get some more information on this from me if you would like to do that. But letting go is critically important. And if you're tuning in, I want you to find a piece of paper and write down those words, let go. And ask yourself, what is it that I need to let go of? And for many leaders, especially leaders who are managing a team, it has to do with the emotional connection or the emotional attachments that we develop to people who work for us or people who we bent over backwards for. So, some of the things that we might need to let go of are things like letting go of the need for approval, letting go of the need to be right, letting go of the need to get validation from our team. Those are all things that are well and good, but they really counteract what we want to do in the workplace when it comes to growing our business, growing our life, and growing our team. And to me, my whole life has been a playground for letting go. And I remember one of the biggest let goes I had to do is when I was a child growing up, my grandfather got sick, and I think he had a heart attack. And my mom packed all of us girls up into the car, and we went off to the hospital to Indiana from Chicago to see Grandpa. We left behind all of our dogs and all of our cats, and we had a whole house filled with animals. And, it was hard saying goodbye, but we wanted to go be with Grandpa for a while. And I remember when we came home from that trip, we came back home to an empty house. I think my dad had a falling out with some of the animals in his caretaking of them. And he decided that he was going to get rid of all of them. And he told us he packed them all up into his truck and dropped them off at a farm. And that was that. And I remember saying, Dad, what about my cat Taffy? What about Taffy? She was such a good cat. And he says, No. He says, I couldn't get Taffy. She's still around. And I remember spending weeks looking for my cat, looking for her, looking for her, and looking for her until finally I came to the realization that she was gone. And either she got scared and ran off, or she was one of the animals that he packed up and that he sent away to the farm. But it just reminds me that letting go can be one of the toughest things. And I want you to think about what is it that you're not letting go of? And in the situation that I'm sharing with you, I left a house filled with animals, right? Cats and dogs, our dog King, our beautiful collie. And I came home to an empty house where all the animals were gone, suddenly just gone. Did we get more animals eventually? Yes. But I had to go through this whole grieving process of letting go of what I thought was there. And that can manifest itself in many different ways in your workplace, from people who you thought would be there for you to people who you thought were happy with what you were doing, to all different kinds of situations. So, what I want you to think about is what is it that you need to let go of? And like I said, this was just one situations that occurred for me in my life was letting go of the animals. But then I've also been divorced and I've also been widowed. And when I lost my husband, Tom, when he passed away in 2012, and if you've heard me speak live, you've heard the longer version of the story. One of the things that I realized is right after he passed, that the longer I hung on to what was, the longer it would take for what I wanted to come into fruition to get here. So I did a big letting go when it came to losing my husband. It was a week short of 4 years that we would have been married. And I remember coming back home after he was at the hospital, after he passed away, and it was instant, it was sudden. And I remember coming home and looking around at everything. That was a reminder of the life that we had and what was. And it was soon after that I got this clear message from the universe: let go, let go. And I started moving things around. I didn't want it to be a shrine, right? So I started moving things around. I started pitching some other things, and soon I was stepping into this whole new life. And I kept hearing inside of my head, the quicker you let go, the quicker what you want will be here. The quicker what you desire will be here. And that's the same thing that's true for you. And this is probably a deeper lesson. And if you're here with me and you want to say hello, I am using StreamYard. So feel free to click on that link and you could say hello. And if you've had a big letting go lesson in your life, I'd love to hear that from you as well, because I know I'm not the only one. And I remember one time I was sharing on the stage the story of the dogs and the cats being gone when I came home. And people were like, oh my gosh, that must have been devastating for a little girl to come home and have all of her treasured pets gone. And it absolutely was. But it was only one of many scenarios that were to follow in my life, which was a huge lesson of letting go. But when it comes to the workplace, oh, and I was saying, share your story, say hello. We're broadcasting live on YouTube in my Facebook group, Leading Workplace Happiness. And if you're not yet a member of that group and want to stay connected with me, come and join me over in Leading Workplace Happiness. And then we're also broadcasting live on LinkedIn. And letting go, it's tough, but think about this. You have an employee who quits. How long do you hang on to that person for? What we work on in my campus is really just saying, woohoo, all right, they're gone. And now I look forward to attracting a more amazing level of energy, is almost celebrating that that person was in your life, then releasing it, then letting it go and getting ready for the new energy that's going to be there for you. And that is a tough thing to practice. But if you can practice letting go, celebrating the energy that they brought into your life, and then preparing with positive expectancy for the new energy that's going to be arriving, you are going to be positioning yourself with each thing that you let go of for that greater thing to come into existence. So when we dwell on what's no longer there for us, and this is another example that many leaders are dealing with right now, is interviewing and having job candidates who seem excited on the phone or through email exchange, and you are expecting them to come in, and maybe you've already created this big picture in your mind, like, woo, this is going to be the ideal candidate, and they're going to be this, and they're going to be this, and all my worldly problems are going to be solved because now I have that person in place. And you create this whole picture that's totally dependent upon this one person showing up for the job interview. And then they don't show. And it becomes like your heart is broken because now every picture, everything that you were building up inside of yourself was let down because the person didn't show for the interview. But the longer that you hang on to that person or that situation, or keep thinking about, oh, this, oh, maybe this happened to her, maybe this happened to her, maybe she'll come back. The more you hang on to that, the longer it's going to take for that next dreamy, ideal candidate to show up. And this is some universal law principles, but this is how it works. So when you have somebody who doesn't show up for that job interview, have another task prepared. Get on the phone, call another candidate, call somebody in your community, talk to them about your vision, talk to them about your story, and really celebrate the energy that you have. But recognize, who aren't you letting go of? Maybe it's an old boyfriend. Maybe it's an old girlfriend. Maybe it's an old employee. Maybe it's somebody who you loaned a lot of money to and they never paid you back. And inside of yourself, you're still hanging on to that destructive energy. Whenever we hang on to that destructive energy, again, it's going to prevent us from bringing the energy that we want into our life, into our workplace, into our team that we're creating. And we often have teams when I come on site who are struggling with letting go as well. We have team members who aren't letting go of situations that happened a week, a month, a year, 2 years, 3 years ago with a certain coworker. They lost trust, yet they're still working side by side with this person, but they're doing it more and more of a robotic fashion because they haven't let go. Or maybe it's a situation that happened with you and they're not letting go of that. And that's causing them to be destructive and dysfunctional in the workplace. So letting go happens on many different levels. For me, not letting go of my cat, looking for her for weeks because I was hopeful that she was still around, to my husband passing away, and to me being in that energy where I could just dwell on what was. And I could take you through a whole story about how you navigate through those kind of really tough letting goes, because there's some letting goes that are really hard and some letting goes that really trigger us. And then there's some letting goes that are kind of fun to just let go of and just release. And there's specific strategies and techniques that you can use. And I'll share with you if you like. One of the biggest strategies that has helped me to let go, and it involves just 2 or 3 words. What has been a struggle for you to let go of? People, situations. In the workplace, letting go of an employee that didn't work out, letting go of that interview candidate that didn't show up. In teams, it could be team members not letting go of situations that transpired with leaders. It could be not letting go of situations that happen with a coworker or with a customer. But the sooner that we could step into an energy that says, I release this, I release this, I release this, the sooner we could get to the situation that truly serves us. So those are my three magic words I just revealed right there is I release this, I release this, I release this. And what happens with letting go and being in that energy of not being able to let go is that we are uber focused on the thing that we wanted to transpire, the thing that is no longer there for us, the thing that may never come to pass. So, what we have to do is intentionally shift our focus and go, wait a second, I don't want to go to those thoughts. Because if I dwell on those things, I'm going to be attracting more and more and more of that same kind of energy. So, what I want to do is go to a different thought process that allows me to transition in to a new place of possibilities. And the only thing that I found that really helps me do that is when I use the words, I release this, or I release this, or I release it, or I release you. So, using those words and really just focusing on them and saying them over and over and over and over again. And sometimes, my goodness, I've had to say them like 100 times in a row before I can move on to a new energetic experience. And many times we're sitting in a place of needing validation from our staff. So if you're a leader watching this, we want that validation from our team. We want to know that we're doing the right thing or that they feel that we're doing the right thing. And a lot of times we don't get that validation. We really have to seek our validation from a dynamic, high functioning team, as opposed to them saying, yep, 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 that's good. That's good. We're going in the right direction. You really need to really take a step back and get that validation from a dynamic, high functioning team and go for improvement first, approval second, right? We want to strive for improvement first, approval second. And that's going to be really the most important place to sit. Letting go is a life lesson that's going to challenge you every single time you build or create an attachment to something or some person. And in addition to using the words, I release this, I release you, the other opportunity is for you to interject gratitude. And when I interject gratitude for whatever the situation was, whatever the lesson was that I learned, whatever it was that came out of it, because I'm a better person because of the situation. I'm a different person because of the situation. And you give thanks for those things, even if it's just inside yourself, or you could get out your journal and you could start writing, I am grateful about this because, and search for things in the situation that you can be grateful for. And it's going to help you to move through and to let go. And when my husband passed away, that was one of the big things that I had to start incorporating was gratitude. I've known Tom since I was 13 years old. We were dance partners in high school. We were really good friends before we were anything else. And I had to just sit in a place of, I'm so grateful for the dances that we shared. I'm so grateful for the laughter. I'm so grateful that in the process I gained a beautiful stepson. I'm so grateful that I learned this. And even though there were hardships and there were trying circumstances, there was always a lesson to learn that I could be grateful for. And that's the same thing that's true in your workplace. Somebody doesn't show up for an interview. What can you be grateful for about that? What did you learn about yourself? What did you learn about people? Can you ask a different interview question? Can you incorporate another layer into your interview process? So when you look through the lens of gratitude, it allows you to see the opportunity for what you can do more of or differently to transform your results bigger and better than ever. So when you have an employee who quits on the spot, they decide this is no longer for me. Give thanks that you had the opportunity to be side by side with that person for the certain amount of time. Give thanks that you learned something about your own management style, your own leadership style. Have gratitude for anything that you may have learned from this person. Have gratitude that now, hey, there's something different I could do in my interview process. There's something different I could put into my employee engagement letters because I learned something from this person. And if you're here tuning in, whether you're live or to the replay, feel free to say hello, leave me a like or a comment, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and that will just really give me, oh, you know, what am I trying to say here? I don't want to say approval because I'm talking about letting go, but encouragement. I really thrive on interaction. So it will give me that interaction to know that this is making an impact on you, which is why I'm doing these videos, is to impact your life in some way. So if you're here tuning in live or to the replay, leave me a comment, say hello. I'd love to learn more about you and to hear where you struggle with letting go. And I've been transforming workplaces, transforming leaders, transforming teams for over 20 years. And the teams have ranged in size from 3 people all the way up to thousands of people, where we're really looking at an organization's effectiveness in the culture that they're setting up and what they're going for. And all these situations transpire. Somebody leaves on the spot, somebody doesn't show up for the interview. For over 20 years, not just now, not just in the past 3 years, but for a very long period of time, these are universal struggles. And I remember I used to get calls from like Japan and Italy and all over the world saying, Julie, here's what we're dealing with. How do I handle this? So, where can you let go? Use the phrase, I release this. And then also come back to an attitude of gratitude. And I love what Michael J. Fox says about gratitude. He says that gratitude is the vehicle in which sustained optimism is possible. And with sustained optimism, you are going to be driven to take different results in your life. That's going to get you to that place where you want to grow. Without sustained optimism, you're going to feel negative when people leave you, when people quit. You're going to think you're not worthy, you're not as good as, and all of those things are just BS. It's just an opportunity for you to step into a greater level of being, a greater level as a leader, a greater level of happiness in your life to say, okay, I'm going to let go. I'm going to grow. I'm going to release this and I'm going to have gratitude. And I did a video many years ago on letting go. And it was about my plane trip. I was going for a speaking engagement, and I had this beautiful scarf that I loved. It was purple, it was pink. And to this day, I haven't found one nearly as much as I loved this one. And I remember being on that plane, and I was having the thought for a while, like, oh, I really need to get a different scarf. I'm wearing this scarf like everywhere, every time I travel. And by happenstance, it's like I got off the plane and my scarf was pushed into the luggage thing very deeply. So I wasn't even thinking about it when I was getting off the plane. And sure enough, I got off the plane and the scarf was left behind. And I remember thinking to myself, what happened to my scarf? I had my bags in hand and I'm like, where's my scarf? Where's my scarf? And I remember going back, and I went back to the lost and found, trying to find it, looking for it. And it was nowhere to be found. And again, this brought me to a place where I had to practice the art of letting go so that I could move forward, so I could get the next best thing in my life happening. And I encourage you to think about, where are you not letting go? Where is it a struggle for you? And can you start switching your thoughts so that you can focus futuristically on the opportunity that is here for you? And if you're dwelling on the past, not letting go, you're not going to be propelled in forward motion. But if you let go, you release things, you practice gratitude, your eyes are going to see opportunities that you never saw before that will propel you to a whole new level of growth. I'm Julie Barkus. It's been a pleasure being here with you today for this little mini training. If you want to stay connected, feel free to comment on our YouTube channel, subscribe. You can also find me in my Leading Workplace Happiness group on Facebook. I hope you'll stay connected, and I hope you'll let go so that you can grow. I'll see you soon.